Hey guys, Shut the Monkey here. So we're back again. This time we're going to do a quick review of a new Tier 6 Commonwealth premium cruiser that's come out, the INS Mysore, which was formerly the HMS Nigeria under British service before being sold off to the Indian Navy post World War II. She is a light cruiser by classification. She's based off the Tier 7 Fiji in game, although she's been downgraded and down to Tier 6 for this. Because of that, she loses one of the 4 turrets the Fiji possesses, which means that the Mysore only has 9 guns rather than the usual 12 in 3-barreled turrets. She's a very good anti-destroyer and anti-cruiser vessel because she has trademark AP shells, which have not only improved penetration but also improved ricochet angles, so they can deal with other cruisers and destroyers pretty well, because usually you have to have a more extreme angle for the shells to actually ricochet, and then you also have pretty decent overmatch performance as well with them being 152mm guns. Of course, it's not going to deal with everything. There are going to be some heavy cruisers you run into at Tier 6, and of course if you're up tiered, Tier 7 and Tier 8, they're going to be able to shrug these 152s off. But they're pretty good performance, usually in the situations that you'll find yourself in if you can get flanking shots or broadsides, or in the cases where you're at maximum range for plunging fire, the shells can perform pretty well. She struggles with battleships because she can only deal with them at either point blank range or maximum range. At mid-range, when your shell's coming down at usually like a 45 or less degree angle, you will ricochet quite a lot. While she has good penetrations with the shell being quite low caliber and not being the heavy AP that you find on the US cruisers, she will bounce quite a lot of shots and have a lot of shots just either shatter or ricochet on battleship armour, unless, like I said, you're getting plunging fire into the weaker armoured decks. Again, this means that she can struggle with the Russian battleships, or if you're at point blank range and firing AP into their broadsides, into the upper hull sides. Those are the 2 situations where she'll deal with battleships well. She also notably has good HP for the tier, it's a pretty decent amount, and she also has on top of that good air and a good rudder shift. But the negatives for the ship: she has a short window between her stock concealment and her maximum firing range. Her maximum firing range is only out to 14 kilometers, and she has no spotter aircraft or upgrades allow her to boost this, so it can feel quite limiting if you don't have a captain with already concealment trained. That's going to be something you're going to have to get used to. I think her stock spotting range on ships, I think, is 11.4 kilometers. So there's a reasonable window there, but that can be eaten up pretty fast, especially if you're not kiting away from the enemy vessel. Because she's a light cruiser, of course, she has pretty poor armor all around and cannot take hits from BBs, especially the BB battleship AP, as a light cruiser, which is why when you deal with battleships, unless you're dealing with them at long range, if you have to fight a battleship point blank, it's going to go pretty poorly for you. This is made worse by the fact that she has no high explosive shells, which is a trait she shares from the British light cruisers, and she also has no torpedo launchers whatsoever, so you can't even deliver a torpedo punch into battleships or other ships that get close. Fortunately, she is quite nice in terms of her consumable loadout, having access to repair party, hydroacoustic search, and the crawling smoke generators that we see also on the perf, which means that you can maintain quarter speed and you have a very long active time, though the smoke clouds themselves are quite short. But this also does mean that she is, because of her poor concealment and rather poor armour, she is quite a consumable heavy performer in the times where you don't have smoke available to you or repair party available to you. If you are getting focus fired or shot at and there's no island cover to make use of, this can be pretty painful for the ship, because while she has a lot of hit points, of course, if you start taking citadel hits, those are going to disappear pretty quickly, and no amount of repair party is going to make up for that. The other downside is she actually comes in as a Commonwealth cruiser because of her relation to the Indian Navy, the INS, so therefore you don't have any Commonwealth cruisers to currently train captains for, so as a captain trainer she's pretty useless unless you're willing to do the gimmicky thing of putting destroyer skills on the captain and your cruiser and then transferring them back to destroyers again. But if you're not willing to do that, then you're just going to be training captain skills just for this ship at the time being. And of course, with her inability to really deal with battleships due to a lack of HE and her AP being either only good at point blank or extreme ranges, you are quite a victim to matchmaking to have a good game in this ship. Of course, if you're running into a lot of destroyers and cruisers, you can do well. She can deal with cruisers and destroyers pretty easily, but if it's a battleship heavy game, you're going to have an issue there. And while she does have good AA, she has no defensive fire, and it's not amazing, so carriers can also be a bit of an issue for you. Of course, with your good maneuverability, you can potentially avoid incoming torpedo drops, but that's just to say that you're not going to be as a difficult target for carriers as you would be were you in, let's say, an American Tier 6 cruiser, or, you know, other ships with stronger AA or access to defensive fire. However, overall, I think she's a pretty nice ship. Tier 6, so she's not too expensive, and she's a pretty decent performer. Like I said, if you can get into a game where you've got quite a few destroyers and cruisers to tank out, you'll do very well off in this thing. And then against battleships, she can be made to work between the crawling smoke, which allows you to stay concealed for them for quite some time, and the fact that you do have situations where you can deal with them, especially if you're occupied with other targets. You can make the guns work even against battleships, although you will suffer if the battleships or other ships start taking focus fire at you with being a light cruiser with your rather poor armour. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this review. See what you think of this ship in the gameplay that I've got lined up in this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
Battleship sunk. Cruiser sunk.
The ship is on fire. Problem solved, sir.